Hi, this is John Paul Jones, and you're tuned in to Guitar.com. When Led Zeppelin was started, I was listening almost exclusively to jazz and rhythm and blues and classical music. The only rock I listened to was to Jimi Hendrix, really, and so I actually came to rock late, if anything. And so I listened to everything constantly. I mean, everything from like rhythm and blues, drum and bass, techno, Latin music, salsa, merengue, and some rock now, but more interesting. But bass-wise, I just keep listening, and just sometimes you can get in composition and playing to a certain extent. Everything is really at a basic level about questions and answers. You have musical questions and you need to find the answers to them. It's especially true of composition. That's what it's all about. Things like, how does the piece start? Then what happens? Then what happens? You know, so what you do is you'll get a musical idea, then you have to realize it. And in the realization, it's just questions and answers. How does it finish? What will make it interesting now that we've done this for a little while? And so these, you can often find ways of looking. All music has the same question and answers. You know, it doesn't matter what type it is. It's still, whether it's pygmy music or Mongolian nose flute, it's still like, how do you present a musical idea? How do you make have tension, release, all that sort of thing? It's all there, and you can very often hear how other people in other musics, in other styles, answer these same questions. And whilst you might not incorporate a salsa lick, you think, oh, you know, I like the way, in order to raise the tension, they've just not used the root, they've used the third, or they've not played the downbeat. And all this can come in useful as sort of reference material for your own questions, for your own music. And so I think it's very important to listen to everything that's out there. And that's one thing I do tell young musicians, is don't close your ears to music you don't know. Listen to as much as you can, because there's something absolutely everywhere to be found in music. Well, actually, okay, on the Zuma CD, Tidal actually has a slight Eastern, slight flamenco feel about it, and that's in the harmonics. So it doesn't actually sound Eastern in a way, but you've always got that tension there, which is an Eastern, an Arabic, basically an Indian tension, because it all comes from Latin music, and everything comes from Spanish music. Spanish music comes from Moorish music. The Moors came up with the Gypsies from Egypt. They were entertainers, the Indian entertainers, and they left and went to Egypt, and then straight up. So it's all linked somewhere along the line, and that's why you know that you immediately feel the tension in that, because it's all the same language, it's all part of the same language. And there's a slight release there, which you get back to that. And again, it's another tension because you remember this one. And there's the release there, and that's in flamenco. So, but I'm using it in rock, and it's not sounding like I'm not doing a flamenco bass part or an Eastern part. I'm just, you know, you've got 12 notes. And so okay, there's one. Most people gravitate to one type of music that they like. If you're a blues player, you know, you play a lot of blues. So listen to everything else and play the blues, and you'll find that you start playing the blues in maybe a different way. If you only listen to blues records and then only play the blues, you're going to find it's going to sound like whoever you like. It won't sound like you, but if you just keep an open mind, I can't stress anymore that you've got to keep an open mind and just listen to what's out there. I mean, whether it's polka, whether it's cumbia, anything, it'll all help to forge your individual style. Yes, it was an interesting record. It was a dark record in a lot of ways, although it was quite humorous. It was actually recorded out in the countryside in this beautifully day-lit studio, and we could see deer bounding across the fields, and she used to get, "Okay, let's kill him!" So, it's actually a nice illustration if you don't have to be where it sounds. You don't have to be in a horrible place to make hard-sounding music. So it's all up here.
You have to feel it. It has to come from within.
Yes, yeah, that's yeah. But in fact, it is felt. It's not imposed from your. Well, sometimes you can play a real horror place and thinking.
How did that collaboration come together? How did you know her? Had you known from years back?
I knew her work. I had one record by her at that time. I had "Wild Women with Steak Knives," a wonderfully titled, and the voice was just like, ooh, this is great stuff. And a mutual friend suggested that we should work together. He said that she'd be interested in doing a rock record with the right person. And he thought that I'd work well together with her. And I quite liked the idea because I wasn't really into normal sort of songs with she said she used to call the songs homicidal love songs. There's a case of not so much my baby's left me, I'm going to throw myself out the window. I always thought it was my baby's left me, I'm going to throw him out the window. And so I always found her whole approach quite refreshing, and it seemed to me a really good thing to do, and we hit it off immediately. We'd both done lounge gigs, believe it or not, in our time. We used to do Ladies a Tramp in soundcheck, which I tell you, worried a few people. Nobody knew what to make of that. And then we also found we knew the entire Motown songbook. And we could both sit down and play Stop in the Name of Love. And so it was like all these little things. And we had respect for each other as musicians. She knew particularly the rhythm section. It's the first thing that really struck her. And I don't know, we just clicked, and it was good.
Why was it a one-time thing? Is there?
Well, she has a serious career, which follows, and it just seemed a good thing to do at the time again, and it was, because it's led me to this. I was shooting for something to play live. Basically, I wanted to play live again, and of course I needed something to play for a start. And I thought, I tend to need motivation to do projects. I'm not somebody who will just write things for no reason at all. I'll work on a project and I'll commit myself to a project. If I'm not actually working on it, then I'm just as happy to sit down and play instruments and not write anything. And so I need the motivation. And it was kind of chicken and egg thing. I needed Zuma in order to have something to play, because I wanted to play live again. It's the one thing I hadn't done over the last 20 years. And I didn't want to join a band. You've been in the best band in the world, what do you do? And I wanted to do it on my own terms, my own music. And so, and I knew that if I did an album, I would then be obliged to go out and promote it. So I knew that I couldn't just go, oh well, I've done the album, that's it. Maybe I'll do something else. I knew that I would then, it would force me on the road, which is what I wanted originally, so I kind of trapped myself into it. But it was really in response to having material to play.
Why didn't you play live before? You said it had been 20 years since you really played live. Was that Something that was conscious? You didn't
As I
want-
said, what do? Do you form another band? I didn't want to do that. Or do you have musicians hanging around while you decide maybe today I'll go out and do a gig? You can't do that. I go jamming with other people's music, and also I was busy. I've done a lot of work in production, studio production, arranging. I've done shows. I've worked with theatre groups, with like La Furdo's Baus. We did the show for the Spanish Expo, and I've done a lot of stuff. And in one way, I like working. In another way, it's always been an excuse. And maybe I should do something, and then somebody goes, "Do you want to do?" Oh yeah, okay, I'll do this. So big procrastinator too.
So what possessed you to say, boy, it's time to get out live again? This is what I want.
Well, something funny enough, again, something that Diamanda said to me, that she'd actually done a lot of collaborations with composers and various people, and she just said to me, she said, I realised one day that if I was going to put this much effort into music, I think it should be my own. And I took those words to heart. I suddenly thought, I've worked on everybody's records since 1963. It's about time. And I'm fortunately in the position I have my own studio. I don't have to work to eat. And it just seemed maybe it's a midlife crisis, who knows. But I thought, I can do it. It's doable. The Amanda show proved to me that it was doable to do it on a small scale, because I couldn't really envisage how it would work before. And so I think a number of things came together, and it now seemed to be the time.
So playing with Diamanda was really what inspired it?
Yeah, I think so. And writing material for the Diamanda. I thought, wait a minute, this is kind of good sort of thing to do and to play. I really enjoyed playing. And again, she got me playing steel guitar, so I remembered I could then have another voice on stage. I always used to play steel guitar in hotels. I used to take one around with me. And she saw it in the studio, and she said, well, what does that sound like? No, you don't want to know about that. She said, no, I want to hear it. So I started playing it, and she immediately wrote a song that I was playing, started singing. And we put it on the album, which was Last Man Down. And then we needed another number, we thought, as we were doing the show, and so we did another blues. And it started going down really well. People were going, wow, this is new, this is different. It's a copy of my original bass, actually. Supposedly about the same vintage.
What are you playing?
It's actually a Fender Custom Shop one. I think they even age it. Look, you see the lacquers cracks and all that. It's amazing, really.
What do you play on tour with you?
On tour, I use 4-string bass, 10-string, and 12-string basses, which are like a double 5 and a double 6 octave strings. And they're all made by Manson Guitars, Hugh Manson, who's also on the road with me as a tech. He sets them all up and down. He also made my lap steel and all that sort of stuff. So.
And what are you playing through?
I'm playing through the multi-string basses, wired in stereo. The neck pickup goes through an SWR bass rig, a big rig at that, and then the bridge pickup goes through a Fender Tonemaster rig. With quite a lot of sort of overdrive and distortion on it, so you get this huge sound. And the multi-string basses have this octave string, an octave higher, following each string, and so it sounds like there's a bass and guitar playing the same lines all the time. It's an enormous sound, which in a power trio is just what you need.